Greetings, one and all. Mercury Black here, putting up an announcement that tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we will be doing the 13th installment of Lunatic Patrol. And tonight we're watching episodes 14 and 15 of Doom Patrol, which is the season finale. So tonight's the big of the season-long story arc. For anyone who's new to this, if you are there right at the beginning, we're happy to give you an idea of like who the characters are and what's happened up till now, if you want to watch the finale with us. Anyone who's not interested in watching the show, but just wants to hang out with me and whoever else shows up tonight, because we're watching 2 episodes, it'll probably be around 11:15. Yeah, 11:15 Eastern Time. We'll be finished the season, and from there we just move on. Sometimes, like, obviously we talk about the show a bit, but the majority of the time we talk about things unrelated to the show. Fuck, anything else to say? There's a Zoom link in the description. If you're shy or have social anxiety, feel free to leave your mic and camera off and just observe. Fuck, I think that's everything I needed to say. I'm only half awake. I'm not all together at all, so I'm not sure if I said everything I need to or not. Anyone watching? Was that a good enough announcement? Okay, great. Daniel and Shane are here. Daniel, I will do my best to be there. It'd be great to see you. You've been there most of the way through this. It would be awesome to see your reaction to the end. And looking forward to seeing you too, Shane. A good coffee. Yeah, and so I'm happy to hang out and have a coffee with everyone if anyone has anything to talk about. Hi, Adela, love you. How you doing today? But aside from that, I don't have anything in particular to say. I've slowed down a bit over the past couple days. Like, I've still been working, but I've not been working morning to night the way I was before. I know what I'll say. If anyone missed the podcast posted yesterday, I think it turned out pretty fucking good. So it's me, Nolan, one of the team here at Sorting Myself Out, and Oren. Dr. Amate came back, and we had a talk on the discussion of death, not from the perspective of dealing with grief or how to handle the death of loved ones, but from the perspective of facing your own mortality and how do we deal with the fact that we're going to die. And I think the conversation turned out excellent. So if you missed that notification, it's the one with the thumbnail that looks like Sons of Anarchy, because I've been watching Sons of Anarchy at the moment. And so Nolan made that awesome variation of it. And Daniel says the chat with Andrea and Pajot is very interesting. Yeah, that one went well too. So that was about a week ago now. So for anyone who missed that, Andrea with the Bangs came and co-hosted with me. It was like a 2-channel team up for an interview with Jonathan Pajot, who's a longtime friend of the channel. He's an old friend of Andrew's, and he'd been on the channel back when Andrew ran it, before he was as famous as he is now. It was my first time meeting him, but we got along great. I had a lot of fun with that one. And I think on Sunday, and I mean, Shane can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Sunday we'll be putting up the podcast. We recorded one. It's me and Ryan took a break from taking a break from the channel to do that podcast with me with Dr. Greg Henriquez. Or I don't know how to say his name because I was pronouncing it. It looks to me, being someone in Quebec, like you'd say his name Henrique, but that's not Greg's last name. So I just called him Greg the whole rest of the conversation after I got his name wrong. But that podcast also, I thought, went very, very well. And that should be coming out Sunday, I think. So Shane says, any thoughts on what Jonathan was talking about on the podcast? The limited feminine stuck out. Anything stick out on that for you? Fuck yeah, I'm not very awake. I'm not remembering the majority of the content of that podcast. I'm just remembering it being fun. What did he say about the limited feminine? Yeah, I don't know. And I can't rewatch myself. And I let go of a lot of the shit after I do it. I've got a weird memory. Random things pop up, but I can't always decide what I feel like remembering. So I'm really not accessing the memories of what specifically was said about the feminine. And Shane, did I have it right? Is the podcast with Greg going to be up Sunday? Wait, which makes it tomorrow? Is today Saturday? Yeah, I think I'm talking about tomorrow. Okay, so Shane says he was saying how the house was a limited version of the eternal unbounded feminine. He says, you've got a great voice. Thank you. I can't stand listening to myself. But that doesn't matter. I don't have to listen to me. It's much better that the audience likes my voice and I hate it than the reverse. Also, the problem here, Shane, is you're asking me to access someone else's thoughts at the moment. I could ramble nonsense about what I think about what the house symbolizes, but I'm having trouble stepping into someone else's frame at the moment. I'm stuck in my own. Maybe just wait till sometime I'm fucking fully awake and we can talk about that directly. And record it if you want to do a follow-up on any of those ideas. And Shane says, yes, Sunday. So we've got another good podcast going up Sunday. Oh, and something else to look forward to, like an audience session I've got booked coming up with Kevin, KG guy from Discord. But also Andrea was nice enough because he really enjoyed the talk with Pajot. That when me and Kevin were talking about doing a podcast for like me and him for the channel here. And that he started going on about how much he liked the dynamic of me and Andrea together. So I asked him if he'd want to talk to both of us and didn't make him any promises. But I just heard back from Andrea. So Andrea is sweet enough that she's going to come like team up with me again to do an audience session this time. So we should be recording that Tuesday. And that'll probably go up the end of next week or something like that. Daniel says you could even sing Take It to the Other Side by Red Hot Chili Peppers. I've got a powerful voice anyway. When I did sing with bands, it wasn't so much singing, it was that punk scream singing. So how's everyone else doing? Anyone have anything that's not as fucking hard on the brain as what Shane was trying to get out of me? And yeah, sorry, Shane, I'm just in the wrong frame of mind for you to engage an analysis of Jonathan Pajot's ideas. So pick some time like in the evening when you and me are just chatting, bring it up again and we can record. But how's everybody's, I got a more personal note, how's everybody's spring been? We're very close to the beginning of summer now. Okay, so Shade says, yes, dude, what does it mean for you? I think of the house as like a bounded space where things can happen, basically. Okay, for me, like in my personal mythology, where like how the symbols shine to me, I usually notice the house as the symbol for the self. And so then there's no division of the masculine and feminine there because, you know, the self has both. And for me, the house is the extension of the self, both in the way like Peterson talks about it, where you don't know the exact boundaries of what you are. You know, is your family part of you, is your, or the way Alan Watts puts it, what's the edge of the sun? Is it the edge of that flame we see? Or is it the edge of its electromagnetic field? Or is it the edge of its gravitational field? You know, the Oort cloud, like that outer limit of debris that's forming a sphere around the solar system? Like it's the solar system. So is that entire gravitational field the edge of the sun? Or is it as far as its light goes? Like when I look up and see a star, does that star extend all the way to me? So, me, do I stop at the edge of my skin? Or am I also, whether it's, the old mystical shit of the aura that's around you, or the magnetic field that we know is there, and that extends out, isn't it like 25 feet on either side? Is that the edge of me? But also, the tools we use, the clothing we wear become extensions of yourself. Dig with a shovel long enough, like use any tool long enough, and you'll notice it feels like part of you when you're holding it. You can feel where the end of that shovel is, just like holding the shovel in your hand. And your environment, especially your home, where you've placed everything in it, where it's where you live, it's affected by you and you're affected by it. Is your house not a part of you in that certain way? The way a turtle's shell is a part of the turtle. But then also, and I may have this wrong, but I think like in Jungian shit, the house is like symbolically the self. And in dream interpretation and some analysis of stories, it stands out to me where the house is symbolic of for me. Did any of that make fucking sense? And Daniel says, I'm walking outside and listening to you with headphones. Nice. Seems a lot of people, I've seen a lot more people talking about walking, or Eric Weinstein's videos lately are him posting when he's going out walking. So is that after quarantine locked everyone in, they stopped taking for granted the freedom to go for a walk and people are enjoying that more? Or is that just a coincidence that I happen to be seeing a lot of shit of people talking about going walking? And so Shane says, right, it is a good example of the masculine and the feminine together. That's great, man. Yeah, okay, and that makes me think also like, yeah, and it's two things. In one way, your house is a protection against the outside. It's a defense in a masculine sort of way. On the other hand, your house is also in a way a womb. Like it's where you go to heal and protect it. So a home can be like feminine and that nourishing, comforting, life-giving, regenerative space on the interior, and it can be the hard masculine barrier locking things out at the same time. And so Shane says, now you got me thinking about the boundary of things. Yes, and that goes like in every direction. Also, are you just the you that you are now? Or are you the you that spreads out over time? We set boundaries on time very immediately as we think about things. Even this house that is a part of me now, is it really my house, or is it not still like my great grandfather's house who built it? And with the boundaries of everything, once you've taken a leaf off a tree, is it still a part of that tree? And then if a koala eats that, at what point does it stop being a part of the tree and a part of the koala? Adela says house masculine, home feminine. Interesting. And Daniel says, The boundaries, you mean the limit of our knowledge. That's an interesting boundary as well. And I find that the more you learn, the larger that boundary becomes, in the sense that, like, if you only know this much, you're only aware of this much that you don't know, because that's all you've encountered. But if you double the amount you know, it also increases the circumference of that area of the unknown. So that the further that you explore out, it's like, instead of, like, if you took a confined space like this room, the more I explore the room, the less of it there is that I'm unaware of. But I find reality to be the reverse. The more of it you learn about, the more there is that you don't know. It increases what you're aware that you don't know. But also, that boundary, is it as hard as we tend to think it is? I know this and I don't know that. Well, what about the shit that part of my brain knows that Shane was asking me earlier? Like, definitely put me under hypnosis, and I assume, like, a good hypnotist might be able to get me to recount that entire conversation word for word. And under hypnosis, I may even remember things about it that I didn't notice in the moment. Yet right now, I can't access that. But is it within the bounds of my knowledge? A part of me, it's not my conscious ego mind that's speaking to you that knows that. But is it not still a part of me that knows that, if that information's anywhere? So do we draw the line of the edge of our knowledge at what we're aware that we know? It's also often, I've noticed so many people know things and they're not really aware they know it. They're acting based on some sort of, like, excellent wisdom. I've had people in private sessions come to me where they're looking for help with something. And as we're talking it through, I'll point out to them that they've got a really deep wisdom, and they'll have no idea what I'm talking about. And I'll have to give the example of how someone else without that wisdom would be reacting to their situation. And then I'll point out that they're making all their decisions as if they believe this axiom. And, I'll say whatever that axiom is that I see in them. And as they examine it, they'll go, yes, you're right. And it's like, I can see that they're living that wisdom out, but they've never even articulated that wisdom to themselves. It's almost the way you can learn things with body memory. And also, we know things that we don't know we know. Like, we pick up all the hormones and pheromones and shit that we exchange with each other. The same way that animals can smell each other's health, their age, their emotional state, and all of those things, we can smell that off of each other too. We tend not to define that as us, but when you smell that person that has the right pheromones that the bodies want to breed, there's a communication going on there. You're picking up information about that person using a sense that we don't tend to be mindful of, we don't discuss, and we don't examine in depth. And so we're fairly detached from, like, consciously, from the part of us that takes in all of that information, interprets it, and then it makes the decision. And when it makes its decision, it communicates that to the conscious mind with, fuck, she's hot. And all that programming leads up to the fuck, she's hot. And we think that comes out of nowhere. Or it's just that lightning bolt moment, or whatever. So all of that data processing and decision leads up to the conscious thought of, fuck, she's hot. So what's the boundary of us? Are we not also the part that's processing all that? How the fuck did I get on all that? Oh, the word boundaries. You can go any direction with the word boundaries. That's what happened. Okay, ignorance could be bliss. Knowledge too. What do you think? I think those are separate axes. but that you can find enough examples of ignorance being bliss that seems total. And again, I think this is one of these things where reality's bigger than what we can handle. So I think you could find enough examples of ignorance as bliss that it would look 100% true. But that also, if your intuition was to look for the opposite, you could find many examples of ignorance blocking your bliss. And so I think this is one of those times where we try to line up two axes that aren't the same thing. So I think ignorance and knowledge is one axis, and bliss, and what's the opposite of bliss? Whatever, anti-bliss is a different axis. Some knowledge can be horribly painful. Other knowledge can be blissful to receive. Ignorance of certain things can be blissful in the sense you're saving yourself from pain. But there's other things that you're ignorant of that would bring you bliss to know. So I think those are separate axes. And I would lead towards the wanting to know, personally. So if I had the choice of two doors to go through, and even if I didn't know which one was going to lead to the bliss or anti-bliss, I'd pick the knowledge door. We're in a sea of possibilities, I think. Yes. Just like the quantum world. And yeah, whether or not ignorance is bliss depends on the context. Shane says, people did start walking more at the onset of quarantine. The way I think of it is the house is both limited because of the walls on the edges and unlimited because of the unlimited possible experience that can happen within it. Enough of houses. Yeah, and I guess a lot of people feel like trapped in their house. I've got like a decent sized house for one person living alone, so I've got enough room, but I'm very much a cave dweller, especially in well, it depends on the season. All through the winter, I don't want to go outside anyway. I'm like a bear. I just want to hibernate in my cave all winter. In the summer, I do like to go outside, but I don't think I feel as locked inside of a house as other people do. But I'm much more able to travel inside myself or into the astral realm and whatnot as well. And a lot of people can't do that. So I'm very good at journeying through all the infinities that you can access internally or in that non-physical external. So I don't feel as trapped inside a place as other people do. Unless I can't smoke. Being in an insane asylum is horrible. That's trapped. But being in my own house is just fine. But even when I think of it, if I had to spend a week in a cell somewhere, like left alone, like solitary confinement, if I had enough cigarettes and I was allowed to smoke in that cell, I'd be just fine. I'd feel trapped in there if I wanted to get out to get cigarettes. Which makes me think of the movie Split, which might be because tonight's the last night of Doom Patrol. From here, we're probably going to do some Zoom parties for a while that are movies. And Grizz and someone else, Grizz had already been saying he wanted to watch Glass at a party, and I haven't seen that one. I've seen Unbreakable, I've seen Split, but I haven't seen Glass. And already, like a couple weeks ago, me and Grizz had talked that he wanted to co-host a Lunatic Patrol party where we watch. So we're not sure. We might do Split and then Glass, or just do Glass. But when I was talking there of like giving advice, how if you kidnap me and you don't want me to try to break free, just make sure I have plenty of cigarettes. So when I was thinking of how to easily keep me in confinement, it made me think of the movie Split. Um, but so if anyone wants to catch that party when we get around to doing Glass, make sure to join our Discord. And um, because we put announcements there for every Zoom party. Hey Martin, how you doing? Doom Patrol tonight at 9 p.m. Hope you can make it. Oh, and tonight we're watching 2 episodes. It's the finale. So if you wanted to like show up after the show's over just to hang out with everyone, tonight probably show up at around 10:45. And Shane says, right, same. Don't feel super trapped. I like knowing I can go. I'd be game for Split. I was thinking about some other movies too. We'll have plenty of movie parties. Yeah, absolutely. These have been fantastic. So we'll definitely be keeping them up. So Martin, anything you want to either say to me or you want to say to the world through me? I'm probably not going to stick around super long, like another fucking hour or anything, but I'm happy to stick around a little longer. Anything you want to say to whatever portion of the world stumbles across this video in the future? Love is important. Yes, I think that's excellent. So, for whoever it is, however many years from now that you've watched up till now, and it's you that needed to hear this, uh, I back Martin completely on that. Love is very, very, very important. It sounds like hippie crap and all of that, but it's the trick to moving towards heaven rather than moving towards hell, because both are laid out before us and they're game settings that we can access by the axioms we live by and certain basic decisions we make. And if you choose, so for instance, if you want to set a different filter in your reality, choose to look at everything through the dichotomy of everything is either love or a cry for love. And if you look at everything that way, so instead of saying, was that love or hate? Was that fair or unfair? Was it right or wrong? When you look at what someone else did, just ask yourself, was that love or a cry for love? And that alone, it's like the principles of high magic, so much of it is just simple shit like that. Take control of your thoughts. Realize, like Pajot said, the power of the question, like that role of the feminine within yourself. The questions you ask are the feminine in your head, and it directs the masculine. And we tend to pay more attention to that masculine part of our minds often in the Western world. The masculine part is the part that's trying to answer the question you have. And we don't look at the questions we ask and see the power in that. Take control of the questions. Or the other example is this was what Warren liked that I said in the other podcast, that he liked enough he wanted to put in a book. One thing I did for myself when I was looking to alter both myself and reality by taking control, understanding the power of thought and language and that magic is real, is I noticed how often I was asking myself, why is this being done to me? Or even if it wasn't that sentence in my head, I noticed that was the emotion I had. Why is this being done to me? I was screaming that question when I was being hurt, when something unfair happened. When I decided to reframe that question as why is it being done for me? And I forced myself to only ask, and I didn't put any effort into answering the question. I let the masculine part, I just put it off duty. I said, don't worry about this fucking question. As far as where I was putting my energy, I put it into the feminine side of controlling that question. No matter how much I wanted to be like, fuck no, it's why is this being done to me? I turned it to why is it being done for me? And the magical result was that by sticking to that in a disciplined way, gradually, whereas before every painful thing that happened to me was something being done to me, eventually, by changing my question, I noticed that every difficult thing that was happening to me was happening for me. And I could see why, because by asking that question, I began to see the upsides, the silver linings, or I began to say, well, if I'm suicidally depressed and it's being done for me, then there must be something I can learn from this. Then the masculine part of your mind just finds it. And it alters reality. And I assume anyone who's been watching this, watching me from the beginning, can see the transformation in me over this past year. That's the continuation of that process. When I went through my difficulties this winter, my last really serious breakdown, treating it like it was being done for me, resulted in the transformation that's sort of showing over the past couple months. It's incredibly powerful. Martin says, and if you'd like to ramble a bit about the heart and your experience connecting to it, I'd like to hear. Shane says, I like knowing I can go, though. And Adele says, it's okay, Jesus was a hippie. Yeah. About heart and experience connecting to it. I don't know what to say about connecting to heart, because I don't think that's a connection I ever lacked. I had a strong connection to my heart chakra and to my emotions my entire life. It's like pre-insanity, my third eye was blocked in my crown chakra. There were other parts of me fucked up. I couldn't access my deep awareness, the oneness, I didn't understand the concept of mindfulness. I was trapped in my own thoughts, thinking they were real, but I don't think I ever lacked a heart connection. So it'd be the same as you saying, can you ramble a bit about, your experience with vision? Vision is, I've just always had it. I don't know how to describe how to see. So I think that's a disappointing answer, but I don't want to pretend I have any better answer than that. But also keep in mind with me, I've got all kinds of nonsense inside me that's not active right now. So ask me when I'm in a different mood or a different subpersonality. May have a whole lot to ramble on about that. But this current version of me, the bundle of nonsense that's active, that's all it has to say. And that just goes for everyone, if no one's heard me say that before. I will give different answers at different times to things. I know different things at different times. I remember different things at different times. So feel free to ask the same question, especially if you see that I appear to be in a very different mood than I was in. So for depressed me, check in the middle of winter and I might have something different to say about heart. So how many people here are going to show up tonight for the final 2 episodes of Doom Patrol? This is going to be good. I like the big finale. And then, yeah, I think we'll do movies for a while. And then I definitely want to do some old Twilight Zone episodes at some point. But for anyone who doesn't know, Twilight Zone isn't like a serial show. It's an anthology show. So each episode is just a thing all on its own. And Martin might show up if he remembers. Well, I'd love it if you do, but it's also perfectly fine if you don't. Feel no pressure. And Martin says, I might pop in late. It's very late for me. Yeah, I know it's tricky for some people in different time zones. But also to anyone who's never shown up before, These will typically run till between 1 and 3 a.m. Eastern time. So, and anyone's feel free. If we're still going, the link will work. If we're done, the link just won't work anymore. So even if it's like after midnight and someone wants to just pop in for 15, 20 minutes, say hi to everyone, feel free to do that. And Martin says, catch you guys later. Lots of love. Yeah, I love you, Martin. Looking forward to talking to you again. And I'm sure if we don't see you tonight, we'll see you at some party eventually. All right. Anyone else have anything important to say, or are we going to wrap this up now? All right. Looks like we're going to wrap this up. So if you want to support the channel, like and share and subscribe and such. And if you know anyone that you think would enjoy the party tonight and you want to bring a friend, feel free. So hope to see some of you there. And blessings and lunatic love to all.